with us, and this is something that I'll keep on stressing, especially as you have any conversation about the trade deadline, how the Giants are performing, what's the outlook, all of that stuff. I'll give you this. I can tell you that at the ballpark, just within the last hour and a half, Blake Snell is throwing on flat ground. Alex Cobb is supposed to throw a bullpen session either today or tomorrow. Tristan Beck is also in a throwing program. And all of that, I didn't even mention Robbie Ray, who's thrown in the Arizona League. I think his second outing this week, multiple innings. And so when you start to just allow yourself to dream for a second, just let yourself go there for a second, where the Giants, in theory, have more major league ready starters that are hurt right now than they do healthy. So if you've got Logan Webb and Kyle Harrison and Jordan Hicks, even put Keaton Wynn aside right now, there are questions there. And any of these guys who've come up from the minors or the idea of an opener, the fact is that when we get to July, a scenario exists where you got Webb and Harrison. Where's Jordan Hicks as far as all the innings? But then there's also Blake Snell, and there's Alex Cobb, and there's Tristan Beck
and Robbie Ray.
This could be a completely different experience, different baseball team a month from now.
Speaking of Alex Cobb, really quick, Alex Pavlovich had an update earlier. Alex Cobb threw about 25 pitches off the bullpen mound, said it felt great. The plan is for him to throw another bullpen session on Friday.
Okay. And so, I don't know, could it happen again? Are all of them going to be healthy at once? You can doomsday this, but that's why I'm so focused and get very I push off any of this. Come on, just develop stuff's not a good year anyway. This is not a contender. Did you actually believe this is going to be Yes, I do. Call me Homer, call me crazy, do whatever you want. That's a big freaking league pitching staff. If they pitch to their potential, if they pitch to their names, and my God, if this is a team that gets a wild card spot with all of those starters,
right?
You tell me you want to face them in a playoff series.
No, I've just been doing this too long and seen weird things happen, and it's not like the season's over by any means. And they are treading water with guys from the minor leagues, and that's exactly what you're supposed to do when you have injuries, and they've been so significant. So, hey, first of all, tip of the cap to the skipper for coming on.
Yeah.
Because if you're around him and you see what he does every day, his happiest time is first pitch. When he gets to manage, it's one thing to another, and then the scrum, and then the Bob Melvin show, and then this interview, and that interview, and this guy wants his time, and that. Dude, you're a half politician when you're a big league manager for a big market team.
I feel like for Bob, when the game starts, is like for me when the kids go to bed. That's kind of what I feel like it probably feels like to him. Okay.
No, I don't know that it's that much of a sigh of relief because, he's patching it together right now.
I'm full of it. Had two of my kids stay up later than I do anyway. But anyway.
I would say all the prep work you do for a show every day, and then once you flip the switch would be more like his game. Because, it's still fun. It's still intense. You got to think. Fun, you got to be on your toes. You got to think about scenarios like last night. Last night, in extra innings, the Astros decided to bunt all over the place, and you saw that, I kind of liked it.
It worked.
I'm people bunt now, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, he bunted! Well, I'm gonna freak out and throw it down the line. I'm gonna freak out and not catch it. It's a bunt."
So a friend of mine's talking about the Giants and hadn't seen the game last night, and he's like, "Oh, Astros got 2 runs in the 10th. Who was pitching?" Almost in a way of who are we blaming tonight? Who came in and gave all this up? I'm like, well, it was Eric Miller. But remember, first of all, there's a person on second base that he had nothing to do with. And essentially, the Astros scored twice because they bunted.
Yeah.
Eric did nothing wrong.
Nope.
Nothing wrong, and it's 3-1. And even the base hit he gave up. This ground ball goes up the middle.
3-1 is 2-1 in extra innings.
Kind of.
Because you have to score all the way from home, all the way around the bases, back to home to get a run during the game. But you already got a guy out there.
You got a guy.
So that runs, you just got to say that's a run.
You should get that guy,
so
yes.
A 3-1 is 2-1 in extra innings. Because you still have a guy in second base to come up with. That's a run. You got to count that run.
The second run is when you feel like, okay, now we got a challenge in front of us. That's when you actually feel like you're losing.
I think the third run.
Well, no, but
if they score 3 in extra innings, that's going to be tough. Because the ghost runner is going to score.
Yes.
You got to assume that. So then you just manufacture 1 run. So
right, but you're down. Being down by a run going into the last inning is not a comfortable spot.
No.
Like if I'm down, if just the ghost runner scores, I love that we're calling it a ghost runner.
I call it
a first runner.
I call it ghost runner.
But I mean, like if just that person scores, you actually feel like, no, we can go tie this thing up. Like easily you tie this thing up. 1 base hit, one ground ball to the right side, followed by a fly ball.
Depends on who's pitching and where you're at in your order.
Yeah.
If you're 3, 4, 5's coming up, yeah. If Mariano Rivera's on the mound and 7, 8, 9's coming up, that 1 run's a big 1 run.
Yeah.
So it just depends. But that was a character win. That was a ballsy win last night. I liked it.
It was good. It was
good.
It
a lot.
They also got breaks in that inning.
Yeah.
They had 2 ground balls that didn't get fielded. Yeah. The Astros were terrible in that inning. They were terrible in that inning.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, Wisely's hit was the only hard hit ball until Slater's. Those are the 2 hard hit balls. Bailey's was a blooper. Ramos was a grounder to the left side. And Conforto just basically hit a comebacker. But their glove work was terrible. So
you take them any way you get them. Maybe that banks up for that game in Arizona where they kind of threw it away, I guess, for lack of a better word on radio. So we'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah. But no,
I'm oddly relaxed about this team. And maybe it's just because I've seen so much and been around the block a few times and been doing this for a long time that I don't get caught up in wins and losses this time of year. I get caught up in the type of baseball the team is playing. Meaning, if they're playing good baseball, they could lose tonight, but they're playing good baseball, which means they're going to win tomorrow, win the next day, and maybe lose one. But if they're playing bad baseball, like we've seen over the past couple of years, there was times where I'm just like, this isn't the big leagues. Since I came back from the East Coast, I'm watching double plays that aren't being even the front end's not being completed. I'm like, this is the big leagues. That should be a double play 10 times out of 10. And it was frustrating. Now you're seeing better defense. You're seeing them play the game a better way. And I think that's going to lead to more wins and losses. A lot more wins and losses.
I agree with you. I also think this, and this is, I will admit, the quirk, the flaw in the way my brain works. I have a very hard time removing the most optimistic, completed ending of something from my brain. That's just that's what I look at as, well, that's what we believe is going to happen. And it rarely does, right, when it comes to sports, because there will always be adversity and challenges and all of that. But I do, like, you heard what we just said about what the pitching staff could look like, right? But now take it to 6 weeks from now, and let's talk about the lineup. Let's pretend Lamont Wade is your first baseman.
Yeah.
And let's go with Elliot Ramos is actually a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to have a 950 OPS, but let's say he regresses to 800.
And Francisco Lindor is your shortstop.
There you go. That's what I was going to say was, and you acquire someone.
And Pete Alonso is your DH. How you feeling?
I'm feeling real good. Now, I don't know if that's actually obviously going to happen, but I do think if this team even just hovers at 500, I think they can do better if you look at their schedule the next 3 weeks. But let's say they are 500 or a tick better a month from now, and Wade comes back, and Snell is pitching, and Cobb is back, and Beck is back, and Robbie Ray is ready to go, and you acquire a bat, and you tuck all that in with Patrick Bailey as your catcher and Elliot Ramos as your center fielder, and let's see who's handling the corner outfield spots. Is Conforto hitting like he was at the beginning of the season, or quite frankly, he has as a big leaguer in his career, is a very good player if you look at his history. So just tack all that together, and now how are you feeling? Is that overly optimistic? Maybe. It seems seems unlikely that everything is just going to fall into place, but sometimes it does. Sometimes you have a year where your injuries come at the right time. I'll give you the Warriors 2 years ago. Everybody got hurt.
And everybody came back.
And then everybody came back. And then they won the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
So that's I look at this team, and there's plenty about it that bothers me right now. The outlook is not one of those things.
I don't know where I'm getting this from or why I'm saying it, but I'm going to say it. Don't give up on Soler.
I won't. We got no choice.
Most power hitters are streaky.
Oh,
and if he gets hot, this could be fun.
He's very streaky.
He's frustrating right now. I'm sure he's frustrating a lot of people.
I'm waiting for the streak.
More important than us. He's probably frustrating a lot of people more important than us. But I'm not. I just think if he locks in, look out. There are going to be balls flying in places you ain't seen them fly before, and it's going to be fun.
He can hit the ball long
And there's
way.
still like July, August, and September, and half of June. Like, yeah, I'm not giving up on this guy yet.
No, listen. I was not suggesting they give up on him. I was suggesting that they open their mind and you maybe take some days off here or there and take a look at something else, especially if you feel like that night it calls for it. You know what I mean? Like, this is one of those situations where I'm like, I don't know. How about a little more analytics? Just for this one. You know what I mean? No, there's a right-hander with a dirty slider. All right. I got an idea. Let's do something else.
Right now, Mark, the slider does not have to be dirty. It just has to be a slider.
All right. So there's a right-hander and he throws a slider. How about if we try something else?
Just not seeing the ball. He can't lay off.
So, Wilmer, get in there. You're the DH. You know, Flores, by the way.
Locking in.
I mean, locking in. And he was your best hitter last year. Don't forget about Wilmer Flores. Like, why can't he have some DH-er nights? Right?
Well, yeah.
Who would you rather have up right now with runners at second and third and 2 outs?
It depends what you want. If you want a ground ball,
I'd like the runs to score.
If you want a ground ball, I know who.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the outlook. I think the outlook to me is incredibly interesting because the Giants have already shown this offseason that they know they have to be aggressive. And so take that to the deadline. You know, this is a team that 2 years ago acquired Chris Bryant at the deadline. I know sometimes Farhan Zaidi at a deadline or any other time of year, boy, he can uncork a trade that makes you just pass out right there in the middle of hearing about it.
Who?
Exactly. No,
Farhan did?
Yes, he can uncork a trade where you're like, I haven't even heard of who we traded, let alone who we acquired. Like, I don't need the third string catcher from Houston.
No, I think Giants fans are over that.
Yes.
If there's a trade, they want it to be a blockbuster.
Let's have it land.
Even if it stings a little bit.
Totally.
Because to get something, you got to give something away. And there comes a point, and it's going to be game time decision based on how you're playing end of July. Last 2 weeks in July are going to determine a lot. The league is mediocre. There's 4 teams over 500. So if you're Farhan and you're going to trade a prospect and it's going to sting a little bit, you got to be close. You got to be playing in the right direction, heading north.
They have very little reason to not. You know.
Well, it's too early to say that, though.
No, okay, look, a lot can happen, but I would argue that it's very unlikely the Giants become significantly more injured than they already are, number one. Number two, Houston's in town. The Angels are about to be in town, followed by
the Cubs.
A trip to see Chicago and St. Louis, which includes the Rickwood game. And then Chicago comes to town. Yes, it gets tough for a stretch after that. You know, as they move from June to July, it goes Dodgers, Braves, Cleveland. 3 straight series. That's going to be hard. But there is plenty of time right now for the Giants. You know, and then after that, it's Toronto and Minnesota come here, and then you're at the All-Star break.
Angels are 25-40, in case you're wondering.
They're terrible.
The Astros are 30-37, in case you're wondering.
Can you name an Angel? Not Mike Trout.
Well, Rendon, but he's always hurt. The Cubs 32-34. And the Cardinals 31-33. So June is the month to giddy up.
That's 1, 2, 5, 8, 11. That's your next 15 games. Mm-hmm. They will play 0 games against teams with winning records. So, and, you know, as of tonight, they're not a team with a winning record also. So I get that. But, like, yeah, the idea of them still being in this at the trade deadline, I'd be surprised if they're not, wouldn't you? I'd be surprised if they're not, especially considering in this, you don't have to be that good to be in this.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying the things I'm saying today. It's not because I'm a homer, but I am a homer though. I am.
So am I. That's fine.
I'm a Giant.
I also don't think I don't think we're saying stuff that's out of our butt.
No.
Like that I don't think that's happening right now. I didn't say anything that's not, neither did you, that's not reasoned.
I said I think they're going to catch the Dodgers.
That's a little hot. That's a little much.
I do.
Yeah,
I'm sticking to that, by the way.
Stick to it. You might be right, and then you'll get a parade. Believe me.
Nobody will acknowledge it when you're right. They just crush you when you're wrong.
No, believe me. It happens. I give Larry Krueger his Brock Purdy credit, for example. It happens. But I don't think that any of that is not reasoned. The Giants have a potential cavalry coming. They really do. Think about all the names we just mentioned. They have a cavalry coming. They have Lamont Wade, who was playing like an all-star. They have at least half of a starting rotation on its way. And I would argue you played just halfway decent baseball, you're going to get an acquisition, at least one. And then who knows about stuff that we don't even know about, whether from just a shortstop who will catch the ball, whatever. Or does Matos get called back up and perform? There's some unknown there. But the Giants have a lot of reinforcements on the way. They could just hang in there.
They're hanging in there. And they're going to take advantage of the schedule right now, so we'll see. Like I'm watching the Blue Jays out of the corner of my eye, and Bo Bichette's always been somebody I thought's a really good player. His dad, he's got a two-strike approach is why I like Bo Bichette. He spreads out and goes no strike with 2 strikes and puts the ball in play.
Why are his numbers not that good this year? What's going on there?
I haven't watched enough. I don't know. I'm going to sit here and pretend like I know.
Negative WAR player this year.
Really?
Negative WAR.
Perfect. All the more reason to get him here with a chip on his shoulder to prove that was a fluke.
236 batting average.
Maybe he hates his coach.
OPS 630, 4 home runs. Better than that.
Canadian beer has more alcohol content.
It's way better than that. This guy led the league in hits in back-to-back years in 21 and 22.
I know. That's fine.
Led the league in hits.
I want him.
And by the way, his lowest batting average in the big leagues in a 6-year career is 290.
Okay.
And this year he's hitting 236.
Perfect. Get him.
Yes, I agree with you, but what's going on?